Hello everybody, I'm Mini Assassin from Battle Tendency Gaming, and I am here with GreenGamerNY, and he's going to be joining us for this Naruto Storm 4 and Naruto Storm Revolution. So you want to give yourself an introduction?
Yo, what up? GreenGamerNY in the house. I'm really happy to be here, and I'm ready to get this shit started.
Okay, he's dropping his mixtape, so next we got King Friday
Yeah,
over
buddy.
here.
Konnichiwa, I'm King Friday.
God, weeb. Okay.
Konnichiwa.
Okay. Next I got Chocolate Thunder over here.
Hi.
So yeah, and I am Mini Assassin. So first thing we want to dive into is we're probably going to start talking about the new mechanics that Naruto Storm 4 has introduced. From what we've seen, we have been to New York Comic Con this year in October, and Bandai Namco was nice enough to have a demo for us, a playable demo. No campaign, just all multiplayer. We got to experience firsthand some of the new mechanics that they've introduced. Probably one of the biggest things is definitely the armor break. It's this new format where anytime a character is broken into a combo, at a certain point, if you hit a character enough, that character now begins experiencing weird yellow lines that are coming out of their system, and it gives that character bonus attack, but they take more damage at the same time. So guys, your thoughts? Green Gamer?
One of the reasons why I heard CC2 delayed the game was to improve on the battle damage mechanic. So how every character would have their own individual battle damage. For instance, Madara's, he would have some of his six-pass coat ripped off, or Sakura, she would have her Jonin vest blown off. Everyone would have like their own specific type.
Okay. Chocolate Thunder?
Would that damage, would like the clothes being destroyed, would that have any different effect on how much damage it would take? Like for instance, in comparison to Street Fighter, you know, like Zangief can do like as much damage as he wants, but say like Sakura has to like work hard to do a full-on combo just to get as much damage as Zangief would do with one hit. Would armor breaking, from what I remember, I can't tell the difference in the damage that was outputted in the game when I played. But would, say, Madara losing armor break make him lose less or more health against, say, Sakura, who had armor break? Would she lose less or more health?
I think it would be a person who has armor break. If both players have armor break, I think it would be just a faster version of the game, because you're both dealing more damage and taking more damage.
Right.
But if only one person has an armor break, it's kind of like a double-edged sword kind of thing.
Okay.
And if neither has armor break, I think it'd just be like a more slower, laid-back pace. So armor break occurs mid-game, so you'd probably see the pace of the game pick up more towards the middle.
And it adds on a lot of, I don't know, I would say aggression. Like for instance, if you were to take your opponent's armor off, you'd feel like, you know, a bit victorious, like I'm doing way more damage. It gets you more pumped. It gets the battle to kind of, you know, how would you describe it? As
Progress?
Like, progress, yeah. You feel like you're actually doing something. You're actually hitting or lowering down their health bar, and you could see it throughout their clothing or their armor.
Compared to, would we say, a Dragon Ball Z video game, it's so much better, because for their, like, I guess clothes ripping off is just for aesthetics, and it's just to show like, oh, you know, this person's taking a lot of damage, but it doesn't actually impact the game whatsoever at all. But in Storm 4, you know, yes, this is...
Yeah, it actually has a significant impact on the game. So, yeah, I think that's a good thing that they've done compared to past, Rev, but we can get to that later. Yeah, that, whatever, if you can even call that a game.
Like say armor break, you lose a lot of damage if you lose your armor. But not only that, there's field effects that would happen to affect whether you lose even more damage on top of the armor break, which is status elements. For instance, say I throw out a fireball with Sasuke. If you get hit by it, even if you get blocked by it, I can't confirm that one right now, but you would get set on fire. And because you have that fire on you, you gradually lose health, even if you're not getting attacked.
Burn damage.
I did not even notice that in my gameplay. Wow, that was actually, I didn't know that. Nice.
And also, if you walk on the top of water or a pond, you lose the fire. So it's like one of those different effects.
Oh, cool. So it's little things.
Or if you slide back and forth fast enough. You know, if you
They
dash.
took that cue right off of Monster Hunter. Say you got hit by a monster's attack and your body's just burning. You can literally just press X to roll. You roll twice, 3 times. Then
Help
you lose
me!
the,
I'm on fire.
you lose the fire on your body. But also, I know there's a thunder ailment where I think you get stunned for a bit.
It increases damage and I think range if you do it in the water, because water conducts electricity. It would just increase the power and damage.
Okay, so that's a cool.
For water, say if you pick Suigetsu, it would shoot out, I would say, 3 water dragons instead of just 1 if you're in the water, compared to being just on dry land. So,
Okay.
yes.
That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah. So now that we've gone through the status element, another new thing they added in Storm 4 is Team Swap, where you're able to alternate between your support characters. So it kind of creates a more dynamic playing field, because I think this is one of the biggest things, because originally when you went into a ranked match or a player match, you'd see the character, you try to see their fight style, remember what are their weaknesses, etc. But it could be just like a ploy, just you can immediately switch to any of the other supports. So you need to keep, you got to keep all 3 characters' play sets in mind, because it adds this additional like element around the game where you've got to keep your mind more open to the possibilities that they can do.
Adding on to Mini Assassin's point with the character swap, it actually challenges your opponent a lot more, because you have 3 characters, and say for instance, I've noticed this a lot when I use a specific character, for instance Itachi or Naruto. A lot of my opponents on Revolution, when I play online, they would know how to counter Itachi's or Naruto's or whatever character you may like. They would kind of know their little ins and outs, like for instance how Itachi's down combo is kind of broken and all. But with Storm 4, where you could switch into different characters, it gives you that bit of space where, you know, to kind of play around your opponent's prediction or your opponent's mobility, and kind of have them
on their toes.
On their toes, yeah. Like
you kind of can't expect the same things that you did in previous games, because they can immediately change it up with just one flick of the analog.
Exactly. Adding on to that, puppets.
Oy.
What do you guys think of puppets in Storm 4?
Well, they haven't changed. I mean, yeah, they've been existing since, I guess, Storm 1 because of Kankuro. So they've existed in the multiplayer, and they haven't taken away from anything whatsoever. Like, I mean, yeah, they exist. Yeah, they're existing characters that play in the multiplayer, and the game style is completely different. But adding even more to Storm 4, having one of them as a character you can use in your team wouldn't change much, except for, oh, he's playing Kankuro now. I got to deal with his puppets hitting me from afar, and then his body is away from my reach of attacks. But taking away from the match, nothing really changes in comparison to the rest, except for now you have to like have a game plan mid-match to switch to, oh, I can't rush. I have to rush down now because he's Kankuro, as opposed to, oh, I can stay back because he's Kakashi. I can just do whatever I want from afar.
I think it kind of makes puppets even more broken. I mean, it's a known fact that puppets are really hard to get around in Revolution and 3, just because of the ridiculous B-mashing that you can do with puppets. They have most of the, I wouldn't say Sasori, but Chio is probably known to be the most annoying puppet user, in my opinion, at least. Especially with her ninjutsu and everything. I think this makes him even more broken, because the thing with the puppet was, if you got around the puppet, if you knocked it down, it was the ultimate time to go and attack, and that was your moment. But with being able to team swap now, the second you charge a Chio or something when their puppet is all the way on the other side of the field and they wouldn't have time to recover, they can immediately switch to Pain, who is a mega B-masher, and just wreck the shit out of you. So it really changes up the style of how you have to deal with a puppet. How do you really deal with it when they can cover all of their bases now?
And they can also counter now.
Oh, goody.
Wait, the puppets themselves can counter?
No, not the
Puppet Master.
The Puppet Master, but for instance, you won't have, I don't know, your bar for switching or swapping in won't be full, and your opponent finds that one gap to go in, you can ting, or the counter. I call it the ting.
Ting?
The ting,
I
because
call it the ting.
Yeah, 'cause it's that one dreadful ting that you
It
hear and you're
really
like,
is.
shit.
It's like, I lost this whole game because of this.
I mean, the great. We'll discuss the ting later on. We'll discuss the ting later on. But actually, what I want to bring up with team swapping and having the character like the puppet master is comboing mid, like swapping mid combo. Now, I personally haven't tested this. Mini Assassin, you have did mid combo and then swap into another character that has full like partner bar up.
Yeah, but the thing was, because of team swapping, you can only do it every so often. It needs a recharge rate, so it can't be an infinite combo like how it can't be an infinite combo like how Instant Awakening was, because Instant Awakening, it barely took away any of your chakra, and it didn't take that much time to do. It was one of the most broken things of Storm 3. But now with this, there's actually a cooldown meter, so you can probably only do it once before you have to end the combo or before they try to change things around. Getting off the topic of combo swapping, Storm 4 also introduced stage destruction. So any thoughts on it?
So it's playing through a match, say with a certain ninjutsu character, not a ninjutsu character, any character whatsoever, who probably can do like an ultimate jutsu that would destroy an area that actually has some physical damage to the area. Like for instance, Dragon Ball Z. Remember how you would do say like the instant transmission Kamehameha and it would just blow up half the stage, and you physically see the damage on the stage in Dragon Ball Z? Same effect here. Any sort of really big, effective, just jutsu, regular jutsu move or ultimate jutsu would have a stage destruction effect to it.
I think that's pretty cool. I think CyberConnect 2 is kind of focusing on the minuscule stuff here instead of the stuff that we actually want to see as Naruto players. But that's just me. I mean, I think it adds an interesting dynamic and it gets you more enthralled in the game, but it's CyberConnect 2, so I think they're kind of still giving us a little bit short of what we're expecting, but we can get to that in like later changes.
Well, considering that their base gameplay is pretty solid, minus little nuances like your hatred for counter or my general distaste for probably just dealing with characters from across the stage. Like those, like the gameplay itself is based, so you have to build around that. Oh, we already have our gameplay set. We don't need to worry about tweaking it unless it needs for balances. So let's add some stuff like armor breaking, stage elements, stage destruction. But
to that, I rebut the lack of interest in adding additional content. Like, we got some new combos and whatnot in Storm 4, some nice team ultimates, some team combo ultimates that you get through exclusive DLC updates, which we'll get to later. But I think one of the things that definitely annoys me is the lack of 4 combos that a character can do now. They've reduced that in Storm 3 from a character having 4 combos to 3 combos. And you just notice these little things that CyberConnect 2 keeps taking out for some reason that I'm still trying to figure out why. Like, why did they take out the original Nine-Tailed Rasengan Naruto? Why did they take out Chidori True Spear Sasuke? Why are they taking out certain combos? Because they're probably too lazy to put in 4 combos for every character, even though we're throwing out all this money every single time. I love the game itself, but I still think there's more that can be done.
Those are strong words. Lazy? Jesus.
It's I don't know. It's just stuff we see every single time. But getting back onto the topic of new mechanics, one of the final things that they've introduced in Storm 4 is triple awakenings. So it's where instead of when you awaken now with one character, all 3 of them can awaken. And this also adds to the team swap. So if you swap to one of your supports, they are automatically in their awakening mode.
Well, for that to actually work is you have to take double the time to charge for an awakening. So they have this little golden bar that allows you to, it's in the bottom of your health and chakra. It allows you to determine whether you can do a certain amount of awakening with a character. If you do halfway, if you're the one base main character that's on point right now, they can go awakening. But if you let it go for double that, it lets all 3 of them go. So it's a little more difficult. It's more costly, but so much more rewarding when you let all 3 of your characters go awakening, but you have to wait a long time or take a lot of hits.
I noticed when you have all 3 of your characters go awakening, the swap element between them is a bit difficult. Because, say for instance, you're swapping in Kurama for Perfect Susanoo Sasuke. There's kind of a mix-up, and I have noticed it with the jutsus and fireballs. Like, it kind of, I don't know, it matches into each other. They don't just, disappear like characters. For instance, if you're like regular Naruto or Sasuke, you notice them just jumping in or jumping out. But for Awakening, it's a bit claustrophobic, I would guess. Like, it's just one character going into another.
Especially when it would be perfect Susanoo Sasuke and he's doing a combo with his sword as he's hitting you, and then you would swap out to say, I don't like her, but Sakura, and you would have to judge the range, how close or how far you are using the sword hitting with Sasuke to swap out and say she's too far because of how big he was. So that distance and gap, you might not be able to continue your combo in Awakening. So
Yeah, so again, it adds this whole extra thing to like thinking about what the opponent's doing and whatnot. It adds all of these different options. That's one of the things I really do like about it, though. It's not just this one set mindset that you need to have anymore. Just like, oh, he's going for a down combo with Itachi, as everyone else does. So obviously that's gonna happen.
there's also something I would like to add. They've added apparently triple or 3 all at once ninjutsus, where Sasuke, Sakura, and Naruto will all use their jutsus. Naruto using planetary Rasengan, Sasuke using his Chidori, and Sakura using whatever she uses. I don't play her, so sorry.
She does this weird earthquake thing. Yeah.
She lives, she breathes.
She's just there.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
exists.
Yeah, so again, we probably don't have that much information on it because there was a Scantron for that, or a scan of it in on Saiyan Island and all these different news sources. Granted that that didn't really help us in a sense. I don't have much information about that, or we don't know much about it because I've gotten like a good 10 to 11 matches in on Storm 4 while I was at New York Comic Con, and not once did it happen. So I'm not sure about the requirements that you need to set and complete in order to go into that thing. It kind of reminds me of in a Dragon Ball Z game where you go and someone's doing Kamehameha and someone else does a Gallic Gun and you have to spin the analog. So hopefully it's something more interactive like that. That's really fun. But now I want to dive into something a bit different. I want to try to compare Storm 4 and Rev, what we've changed compared to if it's better or worse.
I want to say, round matches. As a Street Fighter player, this is so the round matches is like when you play Naruto Storm Revolution and stuff. You already know this, but you play one and done. You lose both your bars, game's over. But if you lose both your bars in Storm 4, that's just one round. They go Killer Instinct on you. Now you gotta play with a whole new bar while your opponent still has the same bar from the last round. And it's so satisfying. You got screwed over because a kid got lucky and you can't figure out what it is yet. You have a second chance of popping him.
So another thing that I also wanted to add in with that round system. So basically, the person who lost gets all their health back. Both players get all their chakra back. However, items remain the same from the previous round. So this has to be something. This is another thing that you need to think about. Before, it was just a good 80-second match, 80 to 90 second, depending on how fast you were. Just you could throw your paper bombs. Not much to think about because it was one and done. But now, because it's 2 to possibly 3 rounds, now you have more to think about in terms of how cautious you need to be when throwing that one paper bomb that'll save you from a combo, or that one guard break pill that can combo into an ultimate. You got to be a lot more cautious and careful with this because those do not get replenished for a good 2 to 3 rounds. So it adds another thing that you need to think about mid-match.
Honestly, I think that they should have replenished your items, or at least instead of replenishing them, you have at least 4 or double the amount of items, or you get to customize the items that you might bring into battle.
Yeah, I think
I think customization is a bad idea because they tried that in Storm 3 and it ended up being overpowered items for individual characters. For example, granted, she's actually a pretty decent character despite how much I hate her, but Sakura could go into her awakening twice in a row. Yeah. You'd awaken, you'd use your top item, and that immediately reduces your awakening cooldown time, and you can go into it a second time immediately.
I totally forgot about that.
So I think customization is a bad item, or a bad idea to implement into Storm 4. It makes it a lot less balanced, I should say. I mean, there are already a lot of things actually, that make this game completely imbalanced, but I think set items are perfectly fine. And in terms of having items replenished, I think I'd rather have it just like this just so everyone, like, where it does not get replenished and it's the same amount. This way everyone has to think more, and people just can't spam the hell out of their paper bombs when they're in a desperate corner. They actually have to think about it.
That is true, but would you be more satisfied with your 3 characters having their own designated D-pad items?
Again, I think that leaves the same problem that Storm 3 had with the specific items. I mean, there's already a lot of imbalance in terms of combos and ultimates, and definitely Awakenings. Awakenings is probably the biggest thing that changes up how a match goes. I prefer not to. I'm more of a traditional type where I just like to charge and use ultimates and whatnot. But I prefer everything as Storm 4 has left it right now. So another thing I wanted to bring up was how Rev is changing to Storm 4. So the biggest thing, and the thing I am most happy about, is most definitely the counter system.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
I despise Revolution. I have a very good friend of mine, one of my best friends. We used to stay up and play Naruto Storm 3 matches all night. Granted, we hated the Team Ultimate glitch where you can just go up to someone, Team Ultimate them, and you couldn't sub. But it was at least really fast-paced. It had so much fun, and as long as you kept the pressure on, it was perfectly fine. But Rev completely changed up the style to where you have to be afraid of every single thing, because if you air dash, you can't cancel it, and all they need to do is hit 2 buttons, and I cannot explain how stupid of a mechanic it is in a fighter game where you only have 1 round to be paralyzed for 10 seconds, and you can do this multiple times and abuse the hell out of it. I think counter system is the worst thing ever added, and it made my friend and I just completely ignore the Storm franchise, and we're just praying that Storm 4 comes faster so we could just get back onto that train. I do, however, love the fact that counters are now where if you get the ting on somebody,
Ting!
the ting, yeah. If you ever get the ting on somebody, it just gets a little knockback. I think it's an appropriate cost of a little chakra, and it also is a good way to get someone who's keeping too much pressure on you. I think this is the way it always should have been.
Now, my comments on counter is
Oh,
I
here we go.
love the mechanic. As a Street Fighter player, mind games are essential in playing in a competitive setting. Now, with the counter system being the way it was in Revolutions, it allowed me to make everybody afraid to approach. Granted, a very good person of ours over here played Deidara, and he had no problem dealing with that, but I digress. Say, for instance, I'm fighting a Naruto Masher, and he just lets mash and mash and mash, and I can't deal with the speed because Hinata in Storm Revolution isn't as fast as the last Hinata in Storm 4. I would just, alright, you want to do that? Come at me. Counter, punish, over and over and over. I played a person and hit them with 7 ultimate jutsus after counters, and that was the only thing I did, and I won the match. Needless to say, just to finish the point, it helped set a stage of where you had to think about every option you had to do. You were forced to, because now you are scared to walk up and counter, but you can bait it.
Okay, just to counter your points.
Yes.
Ting.
Shut up.
Ting!
Get it? Okay, no pun intended. Actually, the pun was intended. But to first counter your points about mind games, there were already mind games in Storm 3. It was, how is he going to counter dash? How is he going to approach me? Was he going to throw a kunai bag? Was he going to throw a defense item and go directly from a tilt into the combo? But in Street Fighter, are there things that can make you paralyzed for 10 seconds and then you can bop them however you please?
Focus attack.
Kill yourself. Anyways.
We don't talk about focus attack
We
anymore.
do it all the time.
We don't talk about it anymore.
Also, another thing. I get that it was a problem with B mashers, but the fact that it also affects Chakra Dash is one of the stupidest things ever. If you air Chakra Dash, you can't cancel it and you just wait to counter it. And it also works with ground Chakra Dashes because how do you approach someone with Chakra Dash?
As effective as they were in Revolution.
They
That's
are
fine. And that's fine. I'm not against the change, because it's like Blaze Blue with the burst. And you can't just keep relying on it. You can smack them back, and now you have to think of a whole new game plan to approach them with pressure.
I can agree with that.
The only thing I'm probably concerned of if that caters more towards the people who play Keep Away. Now you literally have nothing to worry about, because if you're ever in a situation where you're afraid to deal with up and close, you can mind game them to do the counter, blast them back, and now you've set the stage. You're set. You can now just play your Keep Away game for the rest of the match. Granted, if it wasn't too hard to get close to you, then are probably gonna get close to again. It gives people like they Dar the advantage to just
Yeah.
be like, get away from me. Now you can get hit by one of
You know,
those pellets.
I can agree with that, and this also is another example of how it makes puppets more broken.
Ah,
who
God.
need space and want space. This is basically the stage set to buff puppets even more than they were in past games. So we're probably gonna have to watch out for a lot of these Kankuros, all these Dedaras, these Mizukages, these Sasuris. We're gonna have to watch out for all of them.
But in a way, they
Shino?
need the
Oh
buff.
my god.
Sorry, what was that?
But in a way, they need the buff because of it. Once you chakra dash past a puppet, then they're just open to anything. So yes, in a way, it's good, but then in a way, it's also bad.
Again, my point about the team swap, it's no longer a viable option to be completely defenseless when someone chakra dashes you, because you could just immediately team swap
True.
to someone who's completely close range like Lee or Guy, and you're basically running directly into a combo.
But at the same time, it makes the puppet users more viable because all of maybe 5% of people in the entire Naruto community actually run puppet users, as to where projectile characters, they may have a less use than actual just mashing characters, but it's puppet users are all of 5%.
Yeah, that's true, but I still don't think puppets needed this extra support, but I don't think all of the stuff they added in Storm 4 was meant to buff puppets. I think it's just subconscious.
indirectly,
Yeah,
yes.
it's indirectly buffing them. So that's my main issue. We're gonna have to watch out for puppets in the future.
The only thing I could say is ultimately the counter system, whether it changes the meta for how it plays, still ultimately up in the air, because in the end it depends on how much space it puts between the characters when doing the ting, and that could change now to whenever the game's released, because again all we've played is the demos and the
True.
pre-builds and this, that, and the third.
Yeah. Another thing I wanted to talk about was, I think this was only the demo, but like in Storm 3, how you can pick attack, guard type, or neutral type when picking your supports. In the demo, what I saw was everyone was already predetermined. I'm not sure if that's just a demo thing, so don't quote me on this. Where support characters will already have, let's say, chakra guard or attack type, or some sort their main support role. So I'm not sure if that's already predetermined or that was just for the demo, but it definitely was for the demo where, like, for example, if I was Guy and I picked Kakashi, he was automatically a chakra guard. I could not change it to anything else. So most likely for the demo, but we can see if I can see problems rising if this is a predetermined thing. So thank you guys for listening. We're gonna probably tackle more of Naruto Storm 4 campaign as well as specifics. For example, for example, like shut up.
No.
For example, how Suigutsu has like double pistols now. We're gonna go more into character specifics in another podcast. For now, we just wanted to tackle all confirmed or most confirmed new stuff in Naruto Storm 4, and as well as how we've changed from Rev going into this final game of Naruto. We'll also discuss all DLC and everything in another podcast. So thank you guys for listening. If you stayed around for this long, I have been a mini assassin with Chalka Thunder. What's your name again? Good Friday?
I am King Friday.
Oh, close enough.
Good Friday.
Good Friday.
Thank God it's Friday. Okay. And Green Gamer New York. You can also find Green Gamer New York's YouTube channel in the description, where he posts Revolution videos as well as has some Naruto Storm 4 gameplay videos. So thank you guys for watching, and we will see you in the next podcast.
Hit it up.
Yeah!